NBA contracts are often presented as the ultimate reward. Years of sacrifice, pressure, injuries, and uncertainty are supposed to end the moment a player signs a guaranteed deal. From the outside, it looks like security, it looks like success, it looks like a finish line. But inside the modern NBA, contracts rarely work that way anymore. The league has evolved into a fast-moving, highly transactional environment. Teams adapt quickly, coaches change systems, front offices pivot strategies with little warning, and players are expected to adjust instantly, regardless of what their contract says. Guaranteed money may protect income, but it does not protect roles, minutes, or long-term relevance. This is where the hidden risk begins. When a player signs a major contract, the way they are evaluated changes overnight. Development stops being the priority. Now it is performance versus salary. Every possession is weighed differently. A missed rotation is no longer just a mistake, it becomes evidence. Evidence used in internal conversations, in media narratives, and eventually in roster decisions. Pressure increases immediately. Coaches feel obligated to justify the contract through usage, even when fit is questionable. Teammates adjust expectations. Fans demand consistency. The margin for error shrinks, and the player, fully aware of all this, starts carrying more than just responsibility. They carry perception. In the NBA, perception can shape reality. A player on a smaller deal is often allowed time to grow. Struggles are explained as development. Effort is highlighted. Progress is measured patiently. But a player on a large, guaranteed contract is expected to deliver results instantly and continuously. When that does not happen, patience disappears. This creates a dangerous imbalance. The contract that was supposed to represent trust can quickly become a source of tension. If a coaching change occurs, the new staff may not value the same skills. If the front office shifts direction, the contract may be seen as inflexible. The player becomes tied to decisions they didn't make. And unlike performance, contracts cannot be adjusted mid-season. Another layer of risk appears inside the locker room. Teammates notice salaries, even when they don't say it out loud. Roles are compared. Expectations are silently recalculated. When output does not match pay, resentment can form, even among professionals. This changes dynamics subtly but powerfully. Leadership becomes harder, communication becomes cautious, trust erodes slowly. At this stage, many players realize something uncomfortable. Guaranteed money did not give them control, it limited it. The contract fixed their value at a moment in time, while the league around them kept moving. Systems changed, priorities shifted, but the contract stayed, shaping every conversation. This is not about greed or poor decisions, it is about structure. The modern NBA rewards flexibility. Teams want options, they want leverage, they want the ability to pivot quickly. Players with heavy contracts reduce that flexibility, which makes them vulnerable the moment things stop going perfectly. Careers rarely collapse overnight. They fade. Minutes decrease, roles shrink, confidence suffers, and once a player is labeled as a contract problem, that label follows them. It becomes harder to reset narratives, harder to find the right situation, harder to regain momentum. This is why many players today think differently. They're not rejecting money blindly, they're responding to what they have seen happen again and again across the league. They understand that in the NBA, survival depends on fit, timing, and trust as much as talent. And this understanding is changing how careers are built from this point forward. As players spend more time in the league, they begin to recognize patterns that are never discussed openly. They see teammates sign long-term, guaranteed deals and within a short period experience a sharp shift in how they are treated. The relationship changes. Conversations become shorter. Explanations disappear. Decisions are made without consultation. This is when players understand that contracts do not create loyalty. They create obligations, and obligations are temporary in a business designed around flexibility. Front offices rarely think emotionally. They think in timelines, windows, assets. A player's value is constantly reassessed based on age, health, role, and cost. The moment a contract stops aligning with future plans, the player attached to it becomes vulnerable, not because of performance alone, but because of context. Context matters more than fans realize. A player can perform well statistically and still lose influence within the organization. Numbers do not always reflect fit. They do not capture how a player affects spacing, chemistry, or long-term strategy. When those internal evaluations conflict with salary, tension grows. At that point, the contract becomes louder than the player. This affects opportunity. A player on a large deal may be given fewer chances to experiment or adapt. Coaches hesitate to adjust roles creatively because mistakes feel more expensive. Instead of growth, the focus becomes risk avoidance. Safe decisions replace innovative ones. Ironically, this limits the player even further. Another issue emerges when teams pivot direction. Rebuilds happen quickly in the NBA. One season can change everything. When that happens, contracts signed under a previous vision suddenly lose alignment. Veterans become placeholders, younger players become priorities, and expensive contracts become obstacles. Players sense this shift long before it is announced publicly. Minutes fluctuate, communication changes tone, long-term conversations disappear. The player realizes they are no longer part of the future plan, even if their contract says otherwise. At that moment, guaranteed money offers no clarity, only uncertainty. This uncertainty affects mindset. Players start playing not to excel, but to avoid mistakes. They protect themselves, they hesitate, aggressiveness fades, and once confidence drops, performance usually follows. This creates a cycle that is difficult to break. Media narratives amplify this effect. Once a player is labeled as overpaid or underperforming, that narrative sticks. Analysis becomes repetitive, commentary becomes simplified, context disappears. The player's entire career is suddenly filtered through the lens of a single contract decision. Teams notice this too. Executives understand how narratives influence trade value. A contract framed negatively becomes harder to move. This limits options even further. The player feels trapped, not just by the team, but by perception across the league. This is where many careers stall. The player is still capable, still skilled, still working, but momentum is gone. Opportunities are fewer, and the path forward becomes unclear. Rebuilding trust takes time, and time is something NBA careers rarely offer. Younger players are watching all of this. They enter the league more informed than ever. They study contract outcomes. They observe who thrives and who fades. They understand that security is not just about money, but about environment, role clarity, and adaptability. This awareness is reshaping negotiation strategies. Agents no longer push only for maximum years and guarantees. They prioritize player options, shorter deals, and flexibility clauses. The goal is to maintain leverage, not surrender it, to allow players to respond when circumstances change. Because in the modern NBA, change is constant. Contracts that ignore this reality often become liabilities, not immediately, but over time. And players who fail to account for this risk pay the price quietly. This is not fear, it is experience.
And experience is why the league's smartest players are rewriting how careers are managed from the inside.
For decades, a fully guaranteed contract was treated as the ultimate form of security in professional basketball. Sign the deal, get paid, relax. That mindset shaped entire generations. But what few people talked about, and what today's players understand clearly, is that guaranteed money comes with an invisible but very real cost. The moment a player signs a long, fully guaranteed contract, the power dynamic shifts. Control quietly moves to the franchise. The team controls the timeline, the rotation, and even the public narrative around that player. On the surface, everything looks stable. Behind the scenes, however, comfort can quickly turn into limitation. Minutes shrink, roles change, development stalls, and slowly the player stops being a priority and becomes a fixed expense on the payroll. This is where the new mindset begins. Younger players are realizing that long, guaranteed deals, especially in the wrong situation, can freeze a career in place. Turning down guaranteed money is not about rejecting security. It is about protecting leverage. A player who accepts less money today but preserves flexibility keeps control over something far more valuable, his future trajectory. Public perception also plays a major role. A highly paid player who underperforms becomes an immediate target. Expectations skyrocket, patience disappears. Every bad game becomes a headline. In contrast, a player on a shorter or incentive-based deal is framed differently. He is seen as hungry, motivated, still rising. The narrative works in his favor. Environment matters just as much as salary. Players are increasingly willing to walk away from money to avoid dysfunctional rosters, unstable coaching staffs, or franchises with no clear long-term plan. They understand that development beats short-term cash. Playing in a system that highlights strengths, builds confidence, and offers real opportunity can lead to much larger contracts later and far more respect across the league. League executives have already felt this shift. Quietly, many admit that negotiations have changed. Money alone no longer closes deals. Teams now have to sell vision. They have to explain roles, growth paths, and long-term positioning. Players are asking different questions. How will I improve here? How does this situation set me up for the next level? That question barely existed a decade ago. Today, it defines the decision-making process. There is also a psychological component that cannot be ignored. When a player turns down guaranteed money, he sends a powerful signal to the league, to teammates, and to himself. He is betting on his own performance. Without saying a word, he is declaring confidence in what he can become. That belief changes everything on the court. Effort increases, focus sharpens, every possession becomes an investment in the future. There is no autopilot, no coasting, no safety net. What we are witnessing is not financial recklessness. It is strategic thinking. It is long-term vision. It is a generation that understands a fundamental truth of the modern NBA. The most valuable asset is not the contract you sign. It is the career you build. And this shift sets the stage for something even deeper, something that goes beyond money, minutes, or statistics. In the next part, we will reach the true core of this transformation, player autonomy and the rise of the modern personal brand. The conversation around guaranteed money cannot be separated from a much larger transformation happening inside the NBA. The shift of control from organizations to players. This is not just about contracts anymore. It is about identity, autonomy, and long-term positioning in a league that now moves faster than ever. Modern NBA players no longer see themselves as interchangeable pieces inside a system.
They see themselves as individual assets, brands, businesses, careers with timelines that must be actively managed. In this reality, locking into a long-term guaranteed deal without control can feel less like security and more like surrender. Social media, player-driven media platforms, and direct access to fans have changed the balance of power. A player's value is no longer defined only by box scores or team success. Visibility matters, narrative matters, fit matters. Players want situations where they can be seen, heard, and properly positioned, not buried in rotations or trapped in roles that limit exposure. This is why flexibility has become currency. Shorter deals, player options, and incentive-based contracts give athletes the ability to recalibrate quickly. If a situation turns toxic, stagnant, or misaligned, they can move. They are no longer waiting years for a contract to expire while their prime slips away. Teams, however, operate on older assumptions. Many front offices believe money guarantees loyalty, but loyalty today is earned through alignment, not payroll. Players want clarity. They want honesty. They want to know how a franchise plans to use them, develop them, and protect their value. When those answers are vague, even large guarantees lose their appeal. There is also a growing awareness of how quickly the league can turn. Coaching staffs change, front offices reset, timelines collapse overnight. A contract signed under one vision can become a liability under another. Players who experienced this once rarely make the same mistake twice. Turning down guaranteed money becomes a form of risk management, not reckless risk, calculated risk, the kind based on understanding league trends, cap movement, and personal development curves. Players are surrounding themselves with smarter agents, analysts, and advisors who think years ahead, not just seasons. This mindset also reshapes locker room dynamics. Players who choose flexibility often carry a different presence. They are more vocal, more engaged, more intentional. They know they are building something bigger than a single season. That awareness translates into leadership, even without formal titles. What once looked like defiance now looks like sophistication. What once felt dangerous now feels disciplined. And this evolution has consequences. Teams must adapt or lose leverage. Negotiations are no longer one-sided. Players are walking away, calmly, strategically, because they understand something fundamental. Control over direction is worth more than guaranteed comfort. In the next part, everything converges. The financial logic, the personal branding, the power dynamics, all of it leads to one unavoidable conclusion about where the NBA is heading next and why this trend is accelerating rather than fading.
What we are witnessing right now is not a temporary trend or a passing phase. It is a structural shift in how elite NBA players understand power, leverage, and long-term control over their careers. Turning down guaranteed money is no longer seen as reckless. In many cases, it is seen as strategic patience. Players have learned that the real leverage does not come from signing the first offer on the table, but from understanding timing, scarcity, and optionality. Front offices used to assume that guaranteed contracts were the ultimate security. Today's players see something different. They see how a long contract can quietly turn into a cage. Once locked in, flexibility disappears, trade leverage weakens, the ability to influence roster construction shrinks, and most importantly, the player's narrative shifts from decision-maker to asset. That shift matters more now than ever. Modern NBA stars understand that the league runs on cycles. Cap spikes, media rights deals, expansion talks, and shifting competitive windows all create moments where leverage concentrates in the hands of a few.
Players who remain flexible can step into those moments. Players who rush into security often miss them. There is also a deeper financial sophistication at play. Guaranteed money used to mean safety. Today, elite players generate income streams that dwarf their contracts. Endorsements, equity stakes, brand ownership, private investments, and global exposure mean the NBA's salary is no longer the center of their financial universe. It is one piece of a much larger portfolio. For those players, sacrificing short-term guarantees can unlock far greater upside over time. Another key factor is reputation. Players who show confidence by betting on themselves send a signal to the league. They're telling teams, agents, and competitors that they expect to outperform expectations. That confidence changes negotiations before they even begin. Teams negotiate differently with players who believe they are underpaid than with players who fear losing security. At the same time, players are learning from past mistakes. They have watched stars sign massive deals only to be traded, marginalized, or blamed when rosters fail. Guaranteed money did not protect those players from criticism, pressure, or loss of control. The lesson is clear. Money alone does not equal stability. Power comes from leverage, not guarantees. This mindset is reshaping the balance of power between players and franchises. Teams now have to offer more than money. They must offer vision, alignment, competitiveness, and respect. Players want to know how decisions will be made, who holds influence, and whether their prime years will be maximized. If those answers are unclear, no amount of guaranteed money feels truly safe. Looking forward, this trend is likely to accelerate. Younger players are entering the league already aware of these dynamics. They study contracts, they study cap mechanics. They understand how stars before them gained or lost control. The NBA is no longer just a basketball league. It is a high-stakes negotiation environment, and the smartest players are adapting faster than ever. In the end, turning down guaranteed money is not about arrogance. It is about awareness of value, awareness of timing, awareness of power. The new NBA player mindset is clear. Security is temporary, but leverage creates freedom. And in today's league, freedom is the most valuable asset.